Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, August 5th, 2018. Even in the midst of a personal tragedy, life has this almost funny way of just moving on. Life just goes on. You could be walking through your own personal hell, and yet somewhere someone is waking up to their alarm and not really wanting to get out of their snug bed burrito, or someone is walking downstairs and dying for a cup of coffee but realizing that they forgot to make the pot from the night before, or someone is sitting in a restaurant and is taking phone calls and having breakfast and conducting business as usual. And it was business as usual, a morning like any other in Genoa City, as a lot of Hilary's friends received the news of her death. I thought it was a really nice artistic choice, the way Y&R showed us, without telling us, all of the different ways that people were reacting to the news. We had only music over the opening scenes of Monday's show, no words. We just saw Mariah, Phyllis, Jack, Neil receiving the news that Hilary was gone suddenly. Nobody would have guessed that this was going to happen even a couple of days ago. Hilary was just gone from their lives. Someone who was so bright and so bold and so impactful, now missing. I don't think that Devon probably slept at all that entire night. On Monday's show, we also saw him still at the hospital, still in his wedding attire with the flower on his lapel and just holding his jacket, and he just looks like he's been through hell. This is his personal hell. And I think Devon must have just been stunned. I think in a lot of ways Devon is probably still walking through a lot of this in a cloud, because Hilary was a larger than life personality, and in a way, Devon has this huge hole, a huge space in his life now that needs to be filled. Hilary occupied a lot of space mentally, emotionally, physically, for Devon, for the audience, for all of her friends, for everyone. And what do you do with yourself now that that's gone? I think Devon's first reaction was to fill that space with work at Hamilton Winters, and that's very identifiable, very relatable to me. You just feel like you want to do something. And of course, he has people there who want to help him through this. Devon is not alone. There are a lot of family members, a lot of friends wanting to try to help him grieve, not just push down the feelings and try to ignore them. You have to go through a grieving process at some point, and probably the sooner you do it, the better are your chances for moving on and continuing to try to be productive with your life. I think it was good that Neil and Nate were there encouraging Devon. I also think, by the way, that it's nice that Nate is being there for Neil, making sure that he's also grieving this. One thing I thought about after last week's Y&R Chat was the fact that I didn't really focus in on Neil maybe as much as I should have. Neil was married to Hilary, and they have a very long, complicated history as well. It just seemed that the epic romance of Devon and Hilary overshadowed that marriage a little bit, but I didn't want to forget to mention that Neil's working through his stuff too, and it's not all positive, it's not all love. There were a lot of hurt feelings going on there too, but everyone, I think, at this point needs to find ways to deal with the fact that Hilary's now gone. Opening up on the day of Hilary's service, I was really zeroed in on Devon and identifying with what he was going through. The fact that he is trying to throw a celebration of life for Hilary, and he's trying to make sure that everything is perfect, and I mean everything, right down to all of the last little details of what's happening in the penthouse. Triple checked. Flowers, perfect. The wedding flutes that they received just days ago are perfectly positioned next to a picture of them with the flowers in the background. He has the gilded portrait of Hilary set up perfect center to be the centerpiece of the event, and he is searching around desperately for the right tie. He says, this is very important. He's lost his tie. Neil and Nate are trying to talk him into just getting a different tie, or don't stress about it. But Devon says, no. Hilary cared about her appearance. I am not going to show up to say goodbye to my wife in not the perfect tie. I loved that moment, and I can identify with that moment because you almost feel the need to do something when you realize that you can't control anything. And that's what this represents for Devon. Devon is a rich, very fortunate man right now in his life. He wasn't always that way, but Devon is very affluent. He is used to being able to control, being used to have, he's used to being able to have what he wants. And what he wanted more than anything was his life with Hilary and his child, and he is now going through the process of realizing that he's lost it, and there's nothing that he can do about it. Oh, that was heartbreaking. We also just really only had a brief funeral goodbye to Hilary. Devon has set up the penthouse so that there's going to be a celebration of life afterward, but we only saw Devon going to the funeral service. We had an outside shot of the beautiful cathedral where the funeral did take place, but only a few simple frames from inside of the church. We saw the church interior. We had a plaque with Hilary's name on it next to her casket, and all of the flowers, those flowers that stand up in the background saying that she was a beloved wife. And we got the sense that there was a funeral, but really we only saw a few frames of it, specifically Devon standing over the casket. It gave a sense, I think, that it was a private mourning for Hilary, maybe reserved only for the few closest people to her, but that the celebration of life was going to follow and be bigger. So it was back at the penthouse where the larger group was gathered, and I was so impressed with the way Devon was holding it together. Everything he said was so measured, and he stood in front of Hilary's portrait. He gave a speech to the friends and family, talking to everyone there who knew Hilary, who appreciated her, and some who didn't. And I just kept thinking how he is holding this together. I really don't even know. The man has just buried his wife and his child, and yet he can still muster up the strength to just be really positive. The fact that he was standing there with so much class and a really great pride in his wife, saying that now Hilary she's gone from here, but she has just made heaven a more fascinating and beautiful place. And I thought that was such a wonderful notion, and I know that he believed it in that moment, that she's gone from here, but she's made the next life so much more fascinating because that's who she was, and that's who she was specifically to him. But little by little, you could start to see the signs that Devon was not holding it together quite as well as I was hoping. He ends up taking a little bit of a jab at Nate, accusing Nate of not doing enough to help Hilary. Now, see, this is why I said that I thought it was a bad idea for Nate to be getting involved in Hilary's medical case at all. A lot of physicians don't see their family members on purpose for exactly this reason. It's way too easy to assign blame, and then it puts a complication on that personal family relationship. I believe that Nate's heart was in the right place when he took over Hilary's case, but it's now put him into a combative position with Devon, whereas Nate really could have been one of the main people to support Devon, considering they both lost a fiance, or, you know, in Devon's case, a new wife that meant something incredible to them. That could have been a bonding moment, and instead now it's created a conflict. And I think also that moment where Devon was blaming Nate was a little bit of a precursor to what was going to come later in the week, showing us that Devon is not exactly ready to forgive and forget. The celebration of life service was somewhat subdued. It didn't seem big, it didn't seem grand, but I think that Devon was trying to focus on making it personal and making it something that the family could remember, just creating a space where everyone could come to appreciate Hilary. I thought the best part of that service was Phyllis's surprise. Hilary did have a final surprise for us, the audience, and for the members of the Generosity Society with whom she was close. She had written a letter, and Phyllis had kept it a secret and decided to read this letter per Hilary's instruction at the service. It was wonderful. There were personalized messages for many people who were standing right there in the room. It's hilarious to me that Hilary, on her deathbed, had to make sure that she still had the last word with all of these people. That was very Hilary. It was almost as if Hilary was right there, especially when Hilary told Mariah, when Phyllis got to the part of the letter where Hilary was talking to Mariah, and Hilary saying she wants to comment on Mariah's love life, and Mariah says, can we just skip that? And Hilary in the letter says, no, we can't skip that. These two were frick and frack. It was funny to see that banter going on right on after the end even. And speaking of Mariah, boy, she really grilled that mystery man who we saw a couple of weeks ago meeting with Hilary at the athletic club. It was really, I guess, just probably days before her death. And we were, of course, speculating as to what the meaning of that man was and what the meaning of that meeting was. And as soon as that guy showed up at the service to pay his respects to Hilary, Mariah honed in on him and gave him the 3rd degree. It turned out to not be super significant. I guess I thought it was going to be part of a larger story, but it turns out that that mystery man had made a job offer to Hilary, which she turned down, and we heard telling him she never wanted Devon to know anything about this job offer because it was something that would have been very beneficial for her career, but it would have been an opportunity she had to take in New York, and that would have pulled her away from her family and her new life that she was trying to build with Devon. So Hilary was trying to keep that under wraps, and I think it also added a little bit to Hilary's character growth that moment, because it's a sign that Hilary's priorities had shifted from herself and from her career and onto her family. As the service winds down, the spotlight falls on Shauna. I think this is probably going to be contrary to how most people felt about Shauna this week, but I was really able to connect into what Shauna was going through. The day before Hilary's service, Lily paid a visit to Devon's penthouse. She wanted to talk to him. Lily really didn't have much of a chance to talk to Devon after Hilary's death, even though everyone else seemed to. So it almost seemed like Devon was dodging Lily a little bit. So Lily had to stop by the penthouse to try to get some time with him, but she runs into Shauna instead. And here we have the beginning of the end for Lily's head in the sand. Shauna is looking at Lily, assuming that Lily knows full well that she ran the red light. And Shauna also assumes that Lily is lying to Devon about all of it, and lying to everyone else about it, and trying to present herself as little Miss Perfect and sad and mournful while keeping the secret. So this is Shauna's understanding of it. And to me, that makes it understandable that Shauna was feeling as though she'd been forced to cover for Lily only because of her relationship with Charlie. Because it was said to Shauna explicitly by Kane and by Charlie that Shauna's not allowed to express what she's really feeling. Shauna is expected to swallow her feelings about the accident and what happened and what Lily did, and all of those feelings are legitimate. Everything that Shauna's feeling is legitimate, and she's being asked to swallow it down in exchange for helping a person who she really has no close relationship with, and in fact has had a problem with, and has had a problem with her. I think that Shauna, right from the jump, was being put into a position that as a child she really should not have been put in. So when Lily's at the condo offering her condolences to Devon, Shauna's in the background, barely able to look at Lily, barely able to keep her mouth shut. In fact, Lily took a phone call in the other room, and Shauna had a moment alone with Kane where Shauna says, I know the truth. I know that Lily ran that red light. Just so you know, I know. And Kane reacts to this by pressuring Shauna, by saying subtly, in an almost threatening way, that Shauna needs to keep it quiet. I don't know if anyone else picked up on the subtle forcefulness with which Kane delivered that demand. It was expected of Shauna to keep her little mouth shut. I had no doubt that Kane was going to react that way, though. I think that Kane would do anything and everything to keep this secret from Lily and for Lily in his mind. What was that Lily was saying just a couple of days ago about how important it was to raise Charlie, to be decent, to do the right thing, to tell the truth? Yeah, all that. Kane decides that it's better to keep the truth hidden if it's in Lily's best interest. Not the first time that we've seen this logic coming from Kane. But on the day of the service, now Shauna's standing there listening to all of the wonderful things that people are saying about Hilary, and all Shauna can think about is how good Hilary was to her. She took her in. She made her feel special and wanted in a way that no one ever had before. And I think that Shauna, thinking about how good Hilary was, just made it hurt and feel more, all the more awful on the inside that she was keeping this truth from everyone. Hilary and everyone else had been telling Shauna how important it is to be good and to be truthful, and now she's being asked to lie about something that is so big and so important. So when Lily comes over and kindly tries to comfort Shauna, trying to reach out, and maybe in a way Lily's thinking, Shauna doesn't have a female role model now, maybe I can be that for her. Lily's trying nicely to reach out to Shauna a little late in the game. Shauna lashes out. Shauna's not going to take it anymore. Shauna tells Lily right there in front of everyone who's at the service, that accident was no accident, and that it was Lily's fault. Lily ran the red light. Immediately, Devon overhears this and demands to know the truth. And immediately, Kane jumps in and tries to sweep it all under the rug. He accuses Shauna of being confused. She doesn't know what she saw. While, by the way, Charlie's standing there in the background uncomfortably. What a horrible position to put Charlie in. But Charlie is a good boy. Lily and Kane have raised him right. Charlie told the truth, that Shauna was not mistaken. Lily didn't see the light change, and she did cause the accident. Well, what a revelation. In some ways it changes nothing, but in others it changes everything. Devon was stunned. Everyone else in the room was stunned. Phyllis was furious. Phyllis immediately started screaming at Lily. Lily looked like she had been hit by a truck again. Like she just did not know what hit her. And she didn't understand also how Kane could keep this truth from her. How could Kane not tell her? And how could Kane ask their son to lie? Kane was really good in that scene, though. The way I saw a little something different from Daniel Goddard in his performance right there. You could feel how much he did not want this to be happening with the way he lashed right back out and said, none of this would have happened if Hilary wouldn't have let Shauna and Charlie be hooking up in the condo. Okay, Kane. It immediately erupted. It was immediately uncomfortable. Nate and Neil are over here trying to make peace with everyone, but they're also having a hard time remaining neutral and not sharing their opinions. There's more than enough blame to go around now. Basically, Devon and Shauna blame Lily. Charlie and Kane blame Shauna. And Maddie and Neil are blaming Kane. It's just... It has erupted. It has torn the family apart. Who was it that was having a conversation earlier in the week saying, I think it was, maybe it was Victor or no, it was Jack talking to Neil giving condolences saying, well, the Winters family is doing so well at bonding together over this. The Abbotts probably would have been at each other's throats. Well, that was a little bit of foreshadowing right there too, because in that instant, the Winters family just broke apart into many different factions, with Lily and Devon at the center of it all. Lily and Devon did have a moment alone to talk, and Devon doesn't know what to say to her. Devon doesn't know how to process this. Devon now only sees Lily as having stolen his entire life and his entire future from him, and worse, he thinks she did it on purpose. This is tough because Devon truthfully did have a front row seat to the Lily and Hilary feud for years. Devon listened to those two bicker back and forth until his ears were bleeding. Devon knows that Lily did not want them together. Lily did not make a secret about how much she hated Hilary. So he jumps right to the conclusion that Lily wanted this to happen. That maybe Lily did this on purpose, or at the very least that she's happy Hilary is gone and out of his life. It's what she always wanted. This is really such a tough situation because I can completely see Devon's point of view, even though it seems irrational. I also can understand how Devon realizes that Lily was downright hateful toward Hilary, maybe for good reason, maybe not. That's an old argument, that's an old debate. But as Devon said, Lily was probably spewing that hate just moments before the car crash instead of looking at the road, and Devon is right. And then Devon is thinking about the horrible things Lily was probably saying to Hilary just moments before they crashed, and then flashing back to Hilary lying there in the hospital blaming herself for it all. That's icky. The fact that Hilary had a moment of blaming herself when it was Lily who was negligent. She was. However, I don't think, not for one moment, that Lily wanted this. I don't even think that makes sense logically. Even on Lily's most vindictive day, I don't think she would have wanted Hilary dead. And as Lily herself said, she would never have tried to kill Hilary or to try to wreck the car, not while she was in the car, not with her own son in the back seat. If Lily really wanted to kill Hilary, she could have just run her over with the car. The actual awful truth is simply that Lily made a horrible mistake. It's a horrible mistake that we should all hope never happens to us. Anybody can take their eyes off the road for 10 seconds. It was a long extended time for those eyes to be off the road, that's for sure. It was negligent. And I think that Devon is realizing it, and combine that with the fact that his own grief is just so overwhelming. I don't think that Devon can see anything past the grief. So while Lily is begging him for forgiveness, right now, I can understand Devon thinking, why should I be the one forgiving her? Why should I be the one comforting her? He tells Lily, just go back to your family. At least you have one. You've taken my family from me. You go back to your family. Your life is going to go on. You're going to be fine. I'm the one that pays for this mistake of yours. It's not easy to just lickety-split forgive. That is going to take some time. I do think it's important that eventually, in soap opera terms and in reality terms, that you do try to forgive. I would never expect it to happen overnight. The next morning, though, Devon is trying to move on with his life in accordance with Hilary's wishes, and he catches Devon catches Shauna getting ready to scoot out the door with her bags packed. She's gonna leave the penthouse, not even knowing where she's going. She just feels like Hilary's gone, and so that means she can't stay there. Not only that, but she's now blown up this big secret. She just feels like Devon can't possibly want her there now, but Devon catches her, sits her down, and tells her that he really truly wants her to stay. It was Hilary's wish. She loved Shauna, and in fact she loved Shauna and Devon. That puts them in a very exclusive club together, and they need each other right now. I was so glad that Devon and Shauna actually did have that moment, and it made Shauna grow on me just a little bit. And maybe it's partly because Devon said to her, I'm asking you to stay because that's what Hilary wanted, but it also is for selfish reasons on my part, because having you here is helping me. And if Shauna is someone who can make Devon feel comforted through this time, then I want her to stay. While Charlie, on the other hand, is not happy with Shauna, I do just want to briefly mention that they essentially have broken up over this. There was a moment where Charlie came to the condo later in the week and asked Shauna, why did you have to say anything? Why did you have to do this? This is my family, and now you've broken it apart. And Charlie, I think Charlie doesn't even want to be around Shauna at this point. So they kind of break up. And by the way, we learned out of that conversation that Shauna and Charlie didn't actually end up sleeping together. Shauna made a note that when Lily marched into the condo that day and before the accident had happened, she was assuming that they had slept together, and at no point along the way did Charlie speak up about the fact that they didn't. Why? Why didn't Charlie say anything? Is that going to be part of a larger storyline? And also, do you think, chatters, that Shauna is going to remain on the show? Can you see Y&R continuing to develop this character? Or do you think they're going to quietly usher her off the scene, maybe not feeling that she's as integral now that Hilary is gone? I'd love to get some predictions on that this week. Do you think Shauna has long-term staying power on the show, or is she just going to be ushered off soon? Well, later in the morning, the day after her world has been blown up, Lily shows up at Hamilton Winters ready to work as usual. Her life's kind of going on as usual. But I think that Lily was there hoping again that she could reach out to Devon. I think Lily is hoping that if she just can talk to him long enough, that she can make him understand that it wasn't intentional, and then they can begin to heal their relationship. I think that Lily is making a little bit of a mistake by not giving him space. Neil suggested it. Why don't you take the day off? I don't really think that you need to be here right now. Why don't we give the man a moment to breathe? And Lily can't do that. She still shows up, and then when he shows up at the office, he doesn't even want to look at her, yet she's still trying to break through. That's how much she doesn't want this to be happening. That's the weight of her guilt. She just wants him to know that she's sorry, and she tells him, "This is killing me." And Devon says to her, "No, it killed Hilary." That was such a great line. I wish I would have thought of it. I mean, it was a great line, and honestly, it's been such a great delivery from Brighton James all week long, two weeks long, really. I think he's just been so good. I really like the way that Devon has carried himself. An actor could have played this any number of different ways, but Brighton chose to play it a little more weakened. It wasn't a big performance. He wasn't big and bombastic and angry. Through all of this, I get the sense that Devon is just a heartbroken, weakened soul who just buried his wife and his child and found out that his sister is the cause of it. And to say that the performance felt real and felt natural, I think is quite a compliment. I was just very easily drawn into what Devon's emotions must be at any given moment, and I was with him in the moments, never taken out of it, never thinking he was overacting. It was really, really good and intense in its subtlety too. The relationship of Lily and Devon has always been positive. Do you guys remember the long period of time when Devon had a crush on Lily? There was a lot of years where people were wondering if Devon and Lily were going to ever end up getting together, because he is an adopted son of Neil and Drew, whereas Lily is, well, she's Drew and Malcolm's child. So they're not related, but they were raised in late adolescence within the same household, and there was always this air between them that Devon was kind of in love with Lily. In fact, Devon really almost idolized her for years, and he hated it when Lily became involved with Kane. He hated Kane. And now look at them. Now look at where we are. That Devon is resenting Lily so much to the point that he wants her to pay for what she's done. Devon tells Lily that the only way she can possibly make things right is to go to the police and to confess. And as a matter of fact, if she doesn't do it, then he's going to do it for her, and Shauna will back him up. So, chatters, what do you think about that? Should Lily confess to the police everything about the car accident that killed Hilary? YRChat.com. That is our poll question of the week. Should Lily confess? Do you feel that it's the right thing to do? Is it the natural progression for Lily to just go to the police, get it out there? Or are you falling more on the Kane side of the fence, thinking that maybe it doesn't serve a purpose? Because it's tough. It's tough. First of all, because Lily doesn't exactly remember the accident. So anything she does confess to the police is going to be what other people have told her she's done. Other people have told her that she ran the red light, but she really doesn't remember it unless she's going to remember it down the line. But it's also really tough because Lily confessing to the police is simply, it's telling the truth for the sake of truth, that truth is always better, you know? And is that always the case? Is truth always better? Is truth always right? When confessing to what she's done or enlightening the police to what she's done doesn't bring Hilary back. It doesn't really serve any purpose other than to punish Lily. So I don't know. I can see why Kane is going to continue to fight to prevent that. And then in the previews for next week, Kane is badgering Shauna into keeping silent about what she saw. Badgering a teenage girl into lying is not a good look on you, Kane. I'm really trying to put myself in Lily's shoes here, wondering what I would do if that had happened to me, if I had had a horrible moment of just negligence, and if I had caused this accident, what would I do? I do think that the right thing to do probably would be to update your statement to the police, to accept the consequences of your action. I don't think I could lie. I don't think I could continue to lie about it now that I knew. If I were Lily, I don't think I would want that bad karma hanging over me. And I do think that that's the conclusion Lily will end up coming to next week, despite Kane's best efforts to prevent it. Mariah delivers an amazing tribute broadcast of GC Buzz. She takes it upon herself to break the news to the Hive that their queen bee is gone. There is an audience out there who tunes in to Hilary's show every single day to hear what she wants to say, to hear what's going on with her. Think about when she announced her pregnancy. All of these gifts started pouring in. Now think about the larger audience out there who are learning that someone they looked up to is just now gone, just taken. And Mariah takes it upon herself to try to give a fitting tribute to Hilary. It was, I think, the best GC Buzz broadcast ever. I mean, I kind of wish it was, I wish they would end it there. You guys know how I feel about GC Buzz. I wish it was the best and last GC Buzz broadcast. It was just incredible. There was so many tears and so many shots of Mariah giving her tribute, but also showing us Hilary's empty chair. And I thought that was also a nice visual choice because it's making sure to not present Mariah as happy to just take over the show. Even though Hilary was not physically present in that broadcast, she was there. You're looking at her empty chair and you can almost kind of imagine her there. Like Hilary's a presence that's there even when she's not there. And I thought that empty chair choice also served as a reminder to us that this was always Hilary's baby. This was always her show, and always probably will be to some extent, even though later in the week Devon asked Mariah to continue on with GC Buzz, I imagine, at least for now. Well, at the end of Mariah's broadcast, she looks over into the crowd of onlookers and surprise! It's Tessa! Actually, Tessa in the flesh, not a hallucination as I had predicted last week. I was shocked. To say the least. I could not believe that Tessa was speeding off under the cover of darkness on Friday's episode, and then on Monday she's standing there in the daylight just smiling and everything's fine. Like, I'm sorry, but Mariah and Tessa were apart, then together at last, then broken up, then had a dramatic reunion all in the span of 2 weeks. Well, it turns out that the situation with Tessa's sister was not quite as dangerous as Tessa had originally predicted. I'm not sure why. I just don't know. Tessa tells Mariah that she's back and she still intends to go be with her sister, but now she realizes she can come back. Now she can come back. She has changed her travel plans so that she could see Mariah one more time. Very nice, very romantic. Mariah needed someone in that moment. Tessa tells her that instead of just going, she has now bought a round trip ticket, shows Mariah the round trip ticket. I just don't know what made Tessa think that it was an all or nothing situation last night, and then today she realizes that it's totally okay for her to return. That she doesn't have to choose. Tessa makes a point of saying, "Hey, I realized that I don't have to choose between my sister and my Mariah." But I want to know why. I want to know what made her come to this choice. I feel like Y&R's not doing a great job of helping me understand Tessa, of allowing me to get to know Tessa, and I want to get to know Tessa so badly. I wanted this to have been her redemption moment coming back. I wish it would have happened a little bit later or something, like, because now Tessa is just coming off as a little bit flaky to me. I'm sorry, I'm trying so hard. I really am. I want to get to know her, and Y&R's making it difficult on me. I mean, she gave a letter of resignation to Neil She left Hamilton Winters in the lurch after Devon really kindly gave her that job after she could have damaged his entire business, his entire music label by plagiarizing. He was nice enough to give her that job, and then she just leaves it out of nowhere. So now Neil and Devon are scrambling to fill her space. Oh, but don't worry, Mariah will cover for her while she's gone. Mariah's happy to pick up the slack. Mariah is going to take over Hilary's position at GC Buzz full-time with the show, but it's cool if she does an intern's job too. Yeah. Again, I want to love these two. I want to get into this, but it just feels like Mariah is doing all of the giving here. Mariah has got to be questioning whether or not this relationship is ever really going to work out. I haven't seen any casting news whatsoever indicating that Kate Fairbanks, who plays Tessa, is going to leave the show. In fact, I looked it up and found an article saying that Mal Young confirmed that she's not leaving. He didn't say anything about the terms. They can't comment on contracts, of course, but he confirmed that she's not leaving the show. So why am I feeling like this was a potential goodbye? I'm still left wondering if Mariah is feeling the way I am, which is Tessa ever really coming back? Now that Summer realizes that Billy and Phyllis are on the road to Splitsville, she wastes no time laying all of her cards on the table in the most seductive way possible. Summer basically tells Billy, here's the thing, I want you. We're both single, so what's the problem? Well, Billy tells her, the problem is you're Phyllis's daughter, you're my girlfriend's daughter, and that matters to me. Summer doesn't even hear it. I don't even think that registered with Summer. The only thing that registered with Summer was what she wanted to hear, which is, oh, Billy finds me attractive and we'd probably be together if it weren't for my mom. So, here's the problem. Billy is remaining physically faithful to Phyllis. He's decided. Yet the problem is, while Billy and Phyllis are on this brief relationship break, Phyllis has not remained physically faithful to Billy. Phyllis has slept with Nick in that teeny tiny sliver of an interim where they weren't together, and Kyle knows everything about it except who the mystery man that Phyllis slept with is. Summer is a very crafty girl. She picks up on the fact that there's some tension going on between Kyle and Phyllis, and Summer uses her stealth sex missile to pry or explode the information out of Kyle. And it wasn't even that hard. All it took was some hot and heavy petting, and that entire secret spilled right out of Kyle's mouth like it was nothing. Getting that secret out of Kyle was as easy as spreading butter. Oh, that was fun. I'm sorry. I know I'm not supposed to love Summer because she's young and she's bratty and she's loose, but she is so much fun. Watching her reel Kyle in like a fish, all the while knowing that Summer's really just using Kyle as bait to get an even bigger fish. It has been pure entertainment. Nothing short of pure entertainment. And I'm gonna be sad when this actress leaves the show. I never would have thought that I would be saying that, but this actress Summer is like making the show fun for me right now. It's fun in a bad way. It's like a guilty pleasure. Summer is a guilty pleasure, and that's a staple of soaps. I want to feel guilty pleasure, like I can't believe she's doing that, but I kind of love it. That's a good feeling. That's a hook. I'm sure that the actress is gonna have to be leaving sometime to go back to her primetime gig, and it's gonna be a disappointment to me, at least. Well, now here's where I'm gonna be a hypocrite, because I'm gonna praise Summer for being a vixen, but then I'm gonna turn around and chastise Phyllis for doing the exact same thing. Let's compare Phyllis and Summer for just a brief little second, because I think that the difference is that at this point, Summer kind of owns the fact that she's being a vixen. She's not exactly, there's just something, she kind of likes that about herself, whereas Phyllis is a vixen undercover. Like, Phyllis is going through a rough time. I get that, I really do, but she has no lack of suitors, no lack of male attention going on around her, no problem stringing them all along. She's got Jack and Billy and Nick all waiting in the wings at her beck and call. Let's take Jack first, because Jack and Phyllis are becoming closer. They were both friends of Hilary's, so Jack and Phyllis can share this grief together. In fact, they have had many tender moments between them within the past week. Phyllis elevates Jack to best friend status. She makes a point of letting him know that he can be her new best friend now that Hilary is gone. The thing is, Phyllis, Jack is not your best friend. Jack is your ex-husband, and we all know that Jack is still in love with Phyllis. Their marriage didn't end because they stopped loving each other. Their marriage ended because Phyllis slept with his brother, Billy. So now let's take Billy. Billy attended Hilary's funeral. He gets points for that. He finally came around and was there to support Phyllis when she needed him. But it was becoming increasingly clear at that service that Billy was actually on a three-way date between him and Phyllis and Jack. It was like there was a point where they were both rushing to bring Phyllis a glass of champagne. I mean, it came off icky. I don't think anyone did anything wrong, but the fact that Billy and Jack happened to be at that service together just put way too much pressure on the situation. Billy ended up getting frustrated. He said to Phyllis that he had to go. He had some business to attend to, and he left. Of course, that made Phyllis feel crushed. Here he was finally stepping up and being the boyfriend, being the Billy that she knows he can be, and then he just bolts. And of course, Phyllis also assumes that the business he's got to go attend to is gambling. So she goes to the office to check up on Billy, and he's being very secretive. There's something going on in his office that he doesn't want her to know about. And he's being also very cold and ungiving toward her. So of course she gets, a little paranoid, assumes that he's in there with a poker table, and Billy has to prove to her that he is actually in a meeting. He opens up the door, shows a couple of other business people in there with their tablets. He's clearly conducting serious CEO business, and Phyllis just feels foolish for doubting him, even though she's kind of right to. I feel bad for Phyllis in the situation that this is putting her in, because I think that she wants to help Billy, but you can't help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves. And here she is watching him spinning out, not knowing how bad it is or how not bad it is. She doesn't know, but because he's not communicating with her. The lines of communication have been completely broken at this point. So she approaches him the next day, tells him that she wants to get back together, I didn't really like the way, though, that she had to concede with Billy. She said, I don't like what you're doing, but I don't like this gambling thing, and I reserve the right to complain about it, but I'm not going to hound you about the gambling, because that's how much I miss you, and that's how much I want this relationship. It felt like Phyllis was giving more than Billy was giving. Although he says he's thought about it, he wants to get back together with her too. I thought he was going to say he thought about it and he thinks they should break up, because he's just being so cold toward her. But he says, no, I want to get back together. They kiss, they make up, but I have a feeling that next week Summer is going to end up telling Billy everything that Kyle told her about a man being inside of Phyllis's apartment. And I have a feeling, I could be wrong, but twist, what if Billy assumes it was Jack? I don't think Billy would assume it was Nick. I think Billy is going to assume that Jack and Phyllis are sleeping together again. He saw them at the service. He saw how close they're becoming. And if Billy thinks that Phyllis and Jack are sleeping together, he's going to throw out any hesitation that he had about getting involved with Phyllis's daughter. Like, well, if Phyllis can go get close with my brother, then why can't I get close with her daughter? And then there's Nick. It really bothered me on Friday, the way that Phyllis just called Nick, like calling him over to her apartment, saying she really just wanted to talk to him. She's been thinking about him, and he's just so easy to talk to. Well, Phyllis, you had Jack to talk to if you needed a friend. Remember, best friend status, Jack, new friend. You didn't need to call Nick. You didn't need to drag Nick over to your apartment on a string. You didn't need to call the guy that you just had naughty secret sex with. Nick isn't a friend. You just slept with him. So I feel like Phyllis has got Jack and Billy and Nick all on a string. Jack never got over her. She's not over Billy. But let Nick go. At least, Phyllis, can you just let Nick go? Nick needs to move on with his life with Sharon. That night with Phyllis was such a big mistake. I'm so disappointed in Nick for being pulled into Phyllis's world of pain all over again. He should have learned this lesson a long time ago when he screwed up his marriage exactly like this the first time. But here's the thing, at this point, it's the fact that Nick and Phyllis have slept together makes it real hard for me to root for Nick and Sharon at all. Nick is plying Sharon with jewelry, telling her he wants to fast track the wedding out of guilt. It's out of guilt. Nick wants to get back with Sharon real quick out of guilt, just like Phyllis wants to get back together with Billy out of guilt. Sorry, Nick. You can't say that you want to marry Phyllis or marry Sharon and then go running over to Phyllis's apartment, putting yourself in a room alone with her, and pretty much completely acknowledging and saying out loud that you'd like to rip her clothes off again. I mean, it wasn't expressed, but in that meeting where Phyllis calls him over to the apartment, they're both sitting there subtly saying, yeah, that felt real good, wouldn't mind doing that again, but we can't. No, we can't. We're both real bad, though. We are both so bad. It would be so like us to do that again, but we won't, because we can't, because we're with other people. And that was so bad, but felt so good though, right? Felt kind of good. I'm sold. Abby and Arturo are a really, really fun couple, and I like them both a lot. I can actually see Abby and Arturo dating IRL. They seem like a real life couple. These two just fit together, and I'm really, really into it. I think that Arturo, it just brings a different flavor to the show, and I like hearing him talk about Cubanos, sandwiches, and soccer, and like he's just a different, almost like demographic in a way. Like he's saying things that I'm not used to hearing, like, tell me more about those Cubano sandwiches. I want one. He's just so cute, and he's so nice, and he's kind of basically the nice guy that we've been asking for Abby. He's spontaneous, and he's lighthearted, and he's bringing some new flavor to her life, bringing some new flavor to the show. I loved them dancing in the park, just carefree, dancing in the park, having fun, enjoying life. I liked them sitting down and having ice cream and talking. That felt like a real date. They feel like real people to me now. And I thought there was an interesting moment though during that ice cream chat where they're talking about their past relationships, and Abby asks Arturo if he's ever been serious with anyone else before. And Arturo answers that yes, once. He's had a serious relationship before. So my question is, chatters, did anybody else think that maybe Arturo was talking about Nikki? Does he consider Nikki to be a serious relationship that he had in the past? Or is there going to be some other long lost girlfriend who we might find out about, who might be coming onto the scene? Last week's Who Said It quote, does it bite? It was Phyllis who asked, does it bite? During Hilary's bridal shower, when Hilary hesitated a little bit to open up Mariah's blue gift, Hilary kind of peeks in the bag, kind of sees what it is, and is not wanting to pull it out because it's so blue, and Phyllis is over in the corner going, does it bite? Very, very good catch, because that was a tough one. Congratulations, Lynn, Ambreen, Cheyenne, Jillian, Sherry, and Henry. You guys all got it right. Let's do a similar, I think this is kind of an interesting quote to come off of Does It Bite? Here's our new one. No bugs allowed. Does it bite? From last week, and then this week, no bugs allowed. Do you know who said that? If you do, go to yrchat.com to leave your guess, and if you get it right, I will give you your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. I received quite a lot of comments last week. Thank you guys. I love it. Let's just read a few here. Diana says of Arturo, I like Arturo's character as he is just a regular, down-to-earth guy that the audience can find relatable for now. I loved that he wanted to dance with Abby in the park, showing us that he can be spontaneous and fun. His character is very believable, as well as the discussions he and Abby have. The conversations are not always about business or relationships as the other characters are. Who knew that Abby loves soccer, played it in boarding school, and that her favorite team is Real Madrid? Arturo's character just seems to complement Abby's personality. She's becoming a lot more likable than when she first came on to the show. 100% agree, Diana. I feel like in that same way that Hilary made me like Devon, I feel like Arturo is making me like Abby quite a lot more. I think they are such a fun couple. I laughed a lot about the fact that she got to know soccer while she was in boarding school in Europe, of course. I just love a good boarding school reference. But yeah, I think that the most interesting thing about it is that their discussions feel very real and very everyday. It does seem that a lot of the conversations we have on Y&R are about business, or they are about relationships, but Abby and Arturo are just talking about the flavors of life. It's very refreshing. And Superplex says, did you notice that Abby and Arturo were dancing on top of JT's grave? That's my favorite comment of the week. I got so tickled when I read that because I'm watching Abby and Arturo dancing right there in that spot, and it did not occur to me that they're literally dancing on JT's grave. That is such a good catch. That is brilliant. Very well done, Superplugs. I don't think now I will ever be able to let that spot be anything else. Every time somebody's walking over there, I'm going to be thinking that they're walking on JT's grave now. I think I was just almost happy to forget that storyline though. I didn't really want it to be true. Oh, well. By the way, Paul coming back in talking about JT with the women this week. Is that going to go anywhere? Was that just Y&R's way of bringing Paul back into the loop? Because we either need to make some progress on Paul finding out what happened to JT, or we just need to drop it. I can't deal with any more meetings between those 4 women talking about, oh, is anybody going to find out? How do we cover our tracks? We're going to have to live with this forever. Enough. Either let's take that somewhere or let's be done with it, okay? Rose says, so I guess Abby has been cut out of the family business because she took a job with Nick? Wow, Victor is an ass. There was really no need to close down the whole restaurant since he disowned so much of the family. Really, no kidding. Victor it was a party of 4. I mean, come on, Victor, you didn't really need to close down the restaurant. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how Victor and Abby's relationship continues to develop. It is gross the way Victor only loves you if you are obeying him. What a terrible relationship to have with your father. Victor's love feels conditional, just blatantly conditional. Laura did a little bit of research, by the way, on that bottle of wine that they were drinking in that scene. I'm going to butcher this, but Laura says it's Chateau Margaux Premier Grand Cru Classé 1989 from Margaux, France. Average price of that bottle of wine? $1,344. Yikes, Laura says. That's more than I paid for my car. $1,300 on a glass of wine. Or yeah, it was wine. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? But I liked that touch. I'm so glad you researched that, Laura. That also tickled me because I never would have thought about it. But Victoria made a point of noting the vintage above the bottle and letting us know. So very astute Y&R chatter Laura went out there and told us how much that was worth. $1,300. I can't imagine it. I cannot imagine spending that on one thing. Oh. Okay, Sharita. Let's get down to some Nick and Phyllis business. Sharita says, unfortunately, I don't think that Nick and Phyllis are done sneaking around. Nick is acting completely guilty, and Summer will probably figure it out that the man was her dad that Phyllis slept with. Last note on Phyllis. I loved her Friday outfit. The blue jumpsuit was gorgeous. Oh, Sharita, I'm so glad you said it. I was stunned by that blue jumpsuit that Phyllis had on. The only thing that seemed a little iffy about it was how wrinkly it got in the thighs as the scenes went on. It was pristine and just a jumpsuit, but it also had a side skirt on it. And I loved the way her hair was kind of done up to the back and side. She had the jewels that matched it. Phyllis looked rockin' in that jumpsuit on Friday. I was just like, as the scenes were going on, I was thinking, somebody needs to steam that or something. It would be a little bit like wearing a curtain. It probably felt a little bit like wearing a pair of curtains. Laura says, I disagree with Summer using her sexuality for getting information from Kyle. It's exploitative, unethical, and decreases her own self-worth. Yucky message to young women. Well, I'm glad you said that because I'm over here like, so I need somebody to help keep me in check. I'm like, ooh, that's scandalous. So it's good to get that other point of view. I know you're right. If the roles were reversed and it was a man doing that to a woman, I would not be appreciating it. You better believe. Ambreen says, I watched that first kiss when Kyle held Summer's arm at least 5 times. I don't like her character, but that was sizzling because of Kyle, obviously. Who wouldn't want to be swept up in a kiss like that. But makeout rule number 1, don't talk about your parents or another person. Oh, that is so funny. It was a good scene. It was really hot. I think both of them were bringing the heat. I mean, Kyle is obviously so very crush-worthy, but I thought Summer was bringing something good to the table there too. Yeah, it was gagging me, though, the fact that she kept talking about her mom as he's all kissing on her. I'm like, oh, Summer, just drop it. I understood the means to the end, but it was a little bit gag-worthy. T. Nicole says, I can't tell if Summer is just doing this to get back at Phyllis, and this was all her plan all along, or if Summer genuinely would like to get with Billy. Good question. Diana responded to that comment saying it could be a little of both. I think that Summer is attracted to Billy and thinks he's hot. She probably loves the idea of the two of them getting together, knowing that it's naughty and forbidden. This characteristic mimics her mother's actions and personality. Phyllis did a similar thing when she was sneaking around with Billy behind Jack's back. Phyllis and Billy seem to love the thrill of it all. Summer has that wild and adventurous side, just like her mother. Yeah, I know. Maybe there is no big master plan from Summer. Maybe she's just doing what feels good. Tiffany says, my favorite episode of the week was Monday. Everything was perfect with that episode, from the opening sequence, quiet with just the music playing as Devon had to call everyone to give them the news of Hilary, to Mariah's tribute on GC Buzz, down to Tessa returning to tell Mariah that she isn't going to choose between her sister and her Mariah. I was just a sopping mess by the end of it. Monday's episode was really good, Tiffany. I do have to give him that. I just think that Y&R has done a really good job with all of this. I think that even though I would have preferred to continue to see Hilary's character on the show, I really think that they've done a nice tribute to her. They've folded it in and connected it to other stories on the show. I mean, it's been a 2-week long tribute to Hilary, really. I mean, for crying out loud, I was a really big Brad Carlton fan. I had to watch my Brad Carlton get trapped under an icy lake. I had to see his dead body float up, trapped and drowned under a piece of ice. And I feel like they kind of got over Brad pretty darn quickly. I mean, I will never forget that scene. It was one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen in my life. Brad Carlton trapped underneath that icy patch, dead. A frozen Bradsicle. I'll never forget it. And I think that Y&R, Don Diamont was on that show for over a decade. He was a big star. He was like in People magazine for one of the sexiest people alive in the 90s, and they didn't give him half the tribute that Hilary got. So I think, as much as I didn't want to see her go, I think that Y&R has done a really phenomenal job of paying tribute to the character. But back to those reactions. Leslie wanted to comment about Mariah's new bedroom set, saying, "Is that a sign that we're going to see more of it?" Can't wait for Faith to walk in on something. Oh Lord, yes. I was wondering that too when we saw Mariah's bedroom. Maybe Tessa is going to come back. That could be a little bit of a hint of a sign there that she is coming back. I mean, it's coming from Mal's mouth. I don't know why I'm doubting it. I know it probably drives you guys crazy. I'll get there. Sometimes it takes me a minute, but I'll get there. I think that's a good sign. Although Sharita, here we go. Sharita says, I don't think Tessa is really coming back. I think the writers want to give us the illusion that Tessa is a possibility for Mariah, but they're going to end up bringing Mariah back to her perpetual spinster status. See, Sharita, that's what I was thinking too. I'm trying to pull myself into the possibility, but I also don't want to get my heart broken all over again. Gary says, so, are all of you chatters in love with the shirtless, sanctimonious Dr. Nate? He's too much for me. Let's talk about Dr. Nate, Gary, because I will say there were points in the week that I was glad Dr. Nate was there. He was comforting Neil, and I thought it was inappropriate the way Devon lashed out at him. But when Lily and Devon had their argument in Devon's penthouse and everybody else in the family traveled over to Neil's penthouse, there were some points where Dr. Nate was a little annoying in the way he was trying to provide enlightenment to everyone about grief and the way you get over it. Like, I think he's a good guy. I think he's going to be a good character, but I do believe that Y&R pushed him over the edge a little bit a couple of times in the week, and I could see why you would get a sanctimonious vibe from him, absolutely. So that's a good point. I wonder how everybody else is feeling about Dr. Nate in all of this. Also, I love this comment from Gary saying, now that she's gone, I realize how unnecessary all of my mean comments about Hilary were. Live and learn. Gary, I think this is a subtly brilliant comment, which I think you meant to be funny, because it completely captures the sense of Lily right now. The essence of Lily is, gee, shouldn't have said all those things about Hilary. Really wish I wouldn't have said all those things about Hilary now that she's gone. Yep. Let's get to Jamie here. Jamie was not feeling Lily's attitude this week. Jamie says, I don't know if you caught it in Friday's episode, but Devon made a comment about how Lily can do no wrong. That's the thing, Jamie says. Lily's done so many things wrong. And I agree, Jamie. I think this is the essence of why Hilary and Lily did not get along, because they were both imperfect people. Lily's done as many things wrong as many of the other characters on the show, yet Hilary really always had her bad things come back and bite her, and yet she owned it a little bit more, whereas Lily had this way of maintaining an air of innocence, or you might think of it as holier than thou, or class, or I guess just depending on how you interpret it. But it's like Hilary and Lily did something, it's apples and oranges, but they've both done bad things in their lifetime, and yet it seemed to stick on Hilary and not as much on Lily. So I did catch when Devon said that about how Lily can do no wrong. I think that's how Devon has seen Lily, that Lily could do no wrong. And probably that's why he let her get away with a lot of the things she got away with. For instance, locking Hilary in the office on their way to the fertility clinic. I think that Devon is just now maybe had it. He's tired of letting Lily get away with it. Oh, T. Nicole says about Shauna. Every time Shauna speaks in disgust toward Lily, I keep telling myself it's her grief, but it's also getting under my skin. Lily caused the accident, but many other choices from Hilary, Shauna, and Charlie on that day led to the accident as well. There was no intention on anyone's part for harm. The tragic truth is that an accident is an accident, and for everyone to move on fully, they will need to forgive. I agree 100% there also, T. Nicole. I know, it's one of those things. When something horrible happens, I think it is kind of natural to want to find a place to put some blame, because you're so angry and something's taken from you and you just want somebody to be responsible and to be held to justice. That idea that if someone is held to justice, then it'll just somehow rebalance the universe. But it doesn't always work that way. Not everybody gets justice, and there isn't always a way for it to happen. There's not, sometimes accidents are just accidents. I don't know. It's a tough one. I really can see both sides. But yeah, I think eventually forgiveness for sure. Daisy says, I'm glad Shauna spoke up about the accident, but it's also not a surprise that Lily doesn't remember. It's a surprise that her doctors didn't pick up on that and give her additional tests. And even though Devon intimated Lily faked not remembering, I really think she genuinely didn't. I hope Lily doesn't end up on death's door, but I'm wondering if she will. I don't think Devon actually wants Lily to die, so a scare might help him realize and bring them back together. This is an interesting point, Daisy. Is there any chance that Lily had some kind of undiagnosed concussion that was contributing to her not remembering this whatsoever? Is it possible that she will end up with some kind of larger complications over this? Will a health scare of Lily's pull Devon back into her and maybe make the whole charges thing go away? That's a really good possibility. I really hadn't thought about the fact that Lily wasn't remembering as being connected to a medical condition. In my mind, I just thought she was so out of it and consumed by the argument that she was just more in the argument with Hilary than she was on the road in her car. But you never know. That is a possibility. Leslie says this Lily story is reminiscent of the Adam killed Delia story. Even if, at fault, Adam, less so than Lily, it was an accident being played as if it's a murder. Shauna really annoyed me. I wanted to yell through my TV at her, like Lily would purposely cause it with herself and Charlie in the car. Leslie, an accident being played as if it's a murder. That sums it up. That is so very true. We all, I think, know that it's an accident. But again, it's that desire to want to blame someone. And the fact that you connected it back to Adam and Delia, I mean, that stuck on Adam for the rest of his life. Is this going to stick on Lily in that way too? Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, it is overkill. I was surprised when Devon suggested that Lily needed to go to the police because it doesn't serve a purpose other than punishing Hilary. I could understand the desire to just, let's let it go. Let's move on. What does it help anyone if Lily has to go through a trial? This becomes all very public. I think there's a part of me that would just be like, bleh. Can we just move on? That's all I would want, would be to just move on. Have a relationship with Lily or not, but don't drag it out. Don't cause and contribute more pain to the situation. I don't think I would have insisted that Lily go to the cops, yet if I were Lily, I think I might have. I'm not sure. I have to think about that. I have to meditate on that. Melissa says, I really hated Devon keeping Hilary's diagnosis from her. I liked that Phyllis tried to tell her herself and said, you can't make this decision for her. I completely agree with Phyllis. Maybe it's because I'm an ICU nurse and I see this a lot. Everyone knows the condition but the patient, and I find it very unethical and unfair to the patient. Hilary should have known so she could have processed the information and said her goodbyes. I didn't know you were an ICU nurse, Melissa. Man, that is an intense position. And I wanted to bring up this comment specifically because it adds some context back to that situation and that argument between Phyllis and Devon and whether or not Hilary should be told. Ultimately, Hilary figured it out herself, so she was able to say those goodbyes. But it is an interesting ethical debate. I hate to say it, but just me personally, I don't think I would want to be told. I know that everyone probably wouldn't feel that same way, but just my personality, I think I would rather be happy in a lie than miserable with the truth. I know it's probably terrible, but if I'm dying, I don't need to know. If someone else is dying, I've actually had this conversation with my parents before, and I mean there have been things medically that they've kept from me specifically so that I wouldn't worry, and I know it's terrible, but I'm okay with that. Oh, I know. I don't know what that says about me, but it's just I'm such a sponge, and I just like anything that's bad or negative, it just just goes on me, and I can't let it go, and I just hang on to everything for way too long. And I think to myself, I just would rather not know the truth if it's bad sometimes. Yeah, I know, I'm terrible. Oh, but anyway, gosh, an ICU nurse. That has to be it. See, I couldn't do that job. I've often thought I could not do anything like that. I could not be a veterinarian. There's no freaking way I could stand there all day and I could not put pets down. Like, it takes a really special kind of person to do those jobs, and I am just not it. I'm a little bit of a sensitive soul. T. Nicole says, how does everyone feel that we saw a funeral reception, but not a scene with an actual funeral service? I have to admit, that didn't bother me too much, only because I felt like I'd been through the ringer by that point in the week. Anything that would have happened at that church, I think, would have just been sad and tears, and maybe they would have had a priest giving a eulogy, and I think that would have hung on me, just simply due to the fact that we had a week long of mourning. I was happy to skip right to the celebration. Although Anna left me a comment here saying when Hilary was talking to Devon at the end, she said she wanted a grand service and that she wanted everybody to wear a hat. I'm so upset that we didn't get to see our lovely ladies of Genoa City in hats. I thought for sure that we would be having a conversation about whose hat was best, but that didn't happen. Anna, I don't know why, but I kind of forgot about that. And that would have been a great opportunity. That's kind of a missed opportunity, Y&R. We should have seen some hats. And when I got your message, Anna, I immediately thought to myself, do I own any hats that I could wear during Y&R Chat on Sunday? Because I've got on somewhat of I tried to dress a little nice, as if I was going to go to Hilary's funeral today. But I thought to myself, do I own any hats? And I don't. I'm like not a hat person. I've always kind of wanted to be a hat person, but I don't feel like I can pull it off. Maybe my head's too small or something. A hat would just swallow me up. So I don't even own a single hat, or you better believe I would have been filming Y&R Chat today in a big hat in celebration of Hilary. Consuela also noticed the lack of hats and also said if they wanted Hilary's funeral to be a celebration of life, they should have had it in Chancellor Park. That would have been a good opportunity too. I do feel like having it at the penthouse was a little anticlimactic. Again though, I was okay. Low-key was enough for me. But yeah, I mean, they could have done something different, that's for sure. I don't think that it takes away one little bit, though, from the wonderful things that they did do the week before. But I do agree that the celebration of life wasn't as much of a celebration as maybe Hilary would have wanted. Oh, let's end with this comment from Robbie here saying, damn, Emmys for everyone. All of the actors are showing range and talent. I hope it doesn't end soon. Death in soaps should have significant consequences, and it looks like the Winters family might never be the same after Hilary's death. It breaks my heart to see Devon turn his back on Lily, but I look forward to the actors continuing to shine in this rich, dramatic storyline. Well, we certainly do I certainly do criticize Mal for loving the action-packed storyline, but I gotta admit, he's also given a lot of opportunities for our regulars to shine through all of it. Even people who you wouldn't expect. Jack had an opportunity to give a rather lengthy speech at Hilary's celebration, and and the fact that we saw a lot of people who Hilary would have worked with at GC Buzz in the background. I mean, I think Y&R has done a good job of showing us the impact that Hilary's death will have on everyone in the town. And I agree. Emmys for everyone. You get an Emmy and you get an Emmy, and look under your seat, you get an Emmy too. Thank you, everybody, for listening to another edition of Y&R Chat. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you go to yrchat.com to leave me your comments for the week. I love hearing everything that you guys have to say and to react to, and what you bring to the conversation, and the research and the emotions, and all of it really does contribute positively to my experience as well. So I love you guys. I hope you come back next week. Go to the website, keep chatting with us throughout the week, and I will see you next Sunday. Okay, bye.